Hello, fourth graders. It's Miss Kovarik, and this is Unit 2B, Lesson 21, and we're going to talk about historical fiction today. So here's your vocab for the chapter. Discontented is an adjective, and that means unhappy or not satisfied. A massacre is a noun, the killing of a large number of people. Martyrdom is a noun, death or suffering for the sake of a cause or belief. Triumphant is an adjective, which means victorious. Unity is a noun, absence of disagreement. Sacred is an adjective, and that means holy. Potent is an adjective, which means powerful. Plausible is an adjective, seeming worthy of acceptance. Milestones is a noun, stones marking the distance to some place. Architectural is an adjective, relating to the design and construction of buildings. Masterpieces is a noun, and those are great works of art. Ascended is a verb, and that means to rise up or went upward. Modifications is a noun, and that means changes. Arches is a noun, and those are openings or gateways that are curved on top. Alternately is an adverb, and that means switching regularly and repeated. Interior is a noun, and that means the inside of something. Distinctive is an adjective, which means different or unique. And countless is an adjective, which means too many to count. All right, so we already read these last time. I'm going to reread them because some of your questions today are in that section. So the Umayyad dynasty. Muawiyah ruled for 19 years. He kept the discontented supporters of Ali at peace. When Muawiyah was dying, he appointed his son Yazid as his successor. This was unusual in early Islamic history. Unlike in medieval Europe, the sons of the first caliphs had not succeeded them. Instead, it was the man considered most likely to lead the Muslims successfully who was chosen. In choosing Yazid, Muawiyah founded a dynasty of the Umayyad clan of the Quraysh. There was immediate opposition to this dynasty. Remember that part of the cause of the civil war had been the belief that Uthman favored his relatives too much. At the same time, people felt that Muhammad's closest relatives should rule, so the feelings about whether authority should be inherited were complicated. All right, I'm going to skip this part and head down to this part. So if you need to reread, please do. I'm going to start right here. 12 more years of fighting would follow. By the end, Yazid's successor was triumphant and the Umayyad dynasty continued to rule. But winning came at a great cost. The unity of Islam was destroyed. Mecca and Medina, both sacred towns, had been attacked in the civil war, and the Shiite supporters of Ali would never forgive the Umayyads for killing al-Husayn. Also, the expansion of Islam had slowed almost to a halt. The Muslims had been too busy fighting one another to conquer new territory. Remember, Islam was still very new. It had only been 60 years since Muhammad had died. In that time, the growth of the Islamic Empire had been extraordinary. Many had converted, and old empires had been destroyed. It is easy to forget that, at the same time, the Muslim people were trying to decide who should lead them and why, both in politics and religion. Given the disagreements among the Muslims, it is all that much more remarkable that they were so successful. The combination of their message and their military and political genius was one of the most potent the world had ever seen. This is an Umayyad castle, and this map is showing the dark green are the conquests of Muhammad. The medium green are the conquests from 632 to 661. The light green is 661 to 750, and the red is the Byzantine Empire. The Umayyad Caliphate, which ruled the Islamic Empire for almost 100 years, was the first dynastic caliphate of the Muslims. Under it, the empire expanded to its greatest extent, reaching as far as Spain in the west and India in the east. The Umayyads moved the castle of the Islamic Empire to Damascus in Syria. It was an ancient city in a more central location than Medina. Islam had become a world power, and remaining in Arabia was no longer plausible. This is another part of that map. Sorry, usually it's side by side in your reader, but we've got two different sides. The Umayyads also started making their empire Arabic. Up to this point, the countries they had conquered continued using Greek, Latin, or Persian as their main languages. Little had changed in government or daily life as a result of the invasions. The Umayyads changed that. They made the official language of the empire Arabic. Following old Roman practices, they built and renovated roads across their empire, and they created milestones in Arabic showing the distance to major cities and describing the improvements they have made. For the first time, the Islamic caliphs also built architectural masterpieces. These would continue to be built in the Islamic classical age. This is the Dome of the Rock. Toward the end of the Islamic Civil War, the Umayyad Caliph Abd al-Malik built the Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem. It is one of the oldest Islamic buildings and Islam's first great masterpiece. Muhammad was believed to have ascended to heaven during his lifetime in an event called the Night Journey. Muslims disagreed over whether this event occurred in Mecca or in Jerusalem. The dome is a shrine that some Muslims in later centuries, and most Muslims today, have identified as marking the location from which Muhammad was believed to have ascended. The dome combines architectural styles from different parts of the Islamic Empire. The structure followed a Byzantine model, but the tiles were brought from Persia. The result was something completely new that changed over the centuries. This is a prayer hall at the Mosque of Cordoba. The Mosque of Cordoba, later converted into a Catholic cathedral, was built by the Muslims when they conquered Spain. Construction began in 784 CE, and the final modifications were completed 200 years later. The mosque is famous for its 856 pillars that have been compared to rows of palm trees. The pillars are arranged in a series of double arches that were an architectural innovation, allowing for high ceilings. A double arch consists of a lower horseshoe arch and an upper semicircular arch. So you can see that here, the double arches. Wedge-shaped elements in these arches are colored alternately red or white, giving the interior of the mosque its distinctive appearance. The massive dome is decorated with blue tiles and countless numbers of stars. This is a map of the world created during the Islamic classical age. All right, number 1, it is common both in the Islamic Empire and medieval Christian countries to pass leadership from parent to child. Number 2, which statement is not true? Number 3, Ali's son led the opposition to the Umayyad dynasty after the death of Muawiyah. Number 4, Medina and Mecca are significant towns for Muslims in the early days of Islam. Number 5, why did the expansion of Islam slow almost to a halt? Number 6, why was it all that much more remarkable that the Muslims were so successful? Number 7, how long did the Umayyads rule? Number 8, what modern-day countries mark the eastern and westernmost parts of the Islamic Empire? Why did the Umayyads move the capital of their empire from Mecca to Damascus? Number 10, the Umayyads changed the Islamic Empire to make it blank. What language did they change it to? 11, having the same language spoken throughout an empire is useful. Number 12, what architectural masterpiece did Caliph Abd al-Malik build in Jerusalem? 13, what is significant about Jerusalem for Muslims? 14, how long did it take to complete the Cathedral of Cordoba? And 15, which is not an element of Islamic architecture? Again, be sure to go back up in that text, look for the answers, and get on Zoom if you need any help. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you next time. Bye, Adams.